Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. So we're continuing on with pondering on the lessons in the Quran. I didn't really get to it like I wanted to with the last video because I was discussing other stuff, which I'm a pull back on doing that and just stick to the lessons, due to time constraints, inshallah. So with the low iman, I'm going to read the second point in help cure when you have low iman, whatever that level looks like. So part 2 of things that cure the low iman is trying to feel an awareness of the might of Allah and learning Allah's names and attributes and pondering on their meanings, right? So that's the title of the chapter. Trying to feel an awareness of the might of Allah, learning His names and attributes, pondering their meanings, trying to understand them, and to establish these feelings in the heart so that they may have an effect on one's actions. Alhamdulillah. The heart is the controller of the faculties, which are like soldiers and followers. If it is sound, they will be sound. And if it is corrupt, they will be corrupt. So, what we should just automatically get from that little bit, when you start to learn the names and attributes of Allah and ponder on their meanings, and trying to understand them, this should change what's in your heart, right? And when your heart is sound, then your actions, your speech, your deeds, your Islamic lifestyle is going to be sound. But if your heart is corrupt, then it's the vice versa. Your actions, your deeds, your speech, your Islamic lifestyle is also going to be corrupt. So this is how, not judging, but this is how you can see the way people move and the way that they live and the way they carry themselves, Muslim or non-Muslim. This is a reflection of what's really in their heart. Even if they put off a particular image, that's not what they really are. But their heart is going to show through their actions, right? So you want to have that sound heart. These things raise your level of iman. Also, knowing the names and attributes of Allah Azza wa Jal, their meaning, and really pondering on them, these things will save you from falling into denying these names and attributes, changing these names and attributes to different meanings, actually weakening them. You know what I'm saying? So these things help you grow in iman. So the text of the Quran and Sunnah, which speaks of the greatness and might of Allah, are many. When the Muslims read them, he is shaken and becomes humble before the Most High, the Most Great, the All-Hearing and the All-Seeing, and his fear and submission to the Lord of the first and the last increases. Right? So then they go on to read some of the names and attributes, right, of Allah. Which I'm going to say that because I want to do this, I want to read this Quran to you. But that's the second point. So the first point we read to increase your iman was reading and pondering the meanings of the Quran, right? And then pondering this point 2, pondering the meaning of the names and attributes of Allah, so that these things will start to change your heart, right? Because whenever the heart is Islamically sound, not what we tell ourselves, like for real, then your speech, your actions, your deen is going to be sound. But if the heart is corrupt, your speech, your actions, and your deen is going to be corrupt. So let's bring this to a Quran ayat, one that I picked out, that Allah Azza wa Jal guided me to. And then I also bust out a book of tafsirs just to touch the tafsirs on it. So we're going to use surah number 22. And I'm going to use the clear Quran because once again, I want to point out the theme of the surah and then some of the themes of the ayats. Right? So the theme of the surah, now look at some of the history that they put in there, where you put in your mind, it's just like, wow, subhanAllah. It gives me a different appreciation for what the Rasul and some of the companions went through just to establish the deen of Islam. Right? So Surah 22. So with the clear Quran, the theme of this chapter is, this is a Median chapter, which means it was revealed in Medina. This Median chapter takes its name from a passage that talks about pilgrimage rituals, verse 25 through 37, alongside with the condemnations to the pagans for hindering the believers from reaching the sacred house of Allah, right? Well, the sacred house in Mecca. After 15 years of persecution. So that let you know the Muslims was being persecuted for the first 15 years of deen. But listen to this, right? After 15 years of persecution, here the believers received the permission to fight back in self-defense. So for 15 years of persecution, the Muslims wasn't even fighting back. Allah hadn't even commanded them to fight yet. 15 years of persecution? You got to have some real patience, some real extreme sabr, and very strong iman to accept the Islam and accept Islam and Rasul Allah as a prophet under persecution. See, and I'm mentioning this because some of our deen is based off of what we feel like we can get out of life. If I know some people, and I done talked about it in videos, that leave Islam or fall off deen because they feel like they're not getting anything out of it. And they may only be a Muslim 5 years, 6 years. The Muslims, the Rasul and the companions went under a level of persecution that you couldn't even imagine until you start to read the seerah, the biographies, getting dragged, getting stretched, getting cooked in the sun, big heavy boulders being placed on them, crushing them in 130 degrees sun, in 130 degree weather, while they got boulders on them crushing their body while their hands outstretched like this. 15 years, poor, destitute, had to leave their homes, their businesses. That's iman right there. So look what it say. So it talk about that in verse 39, where the permission to fight back in self-defense, verse 39. So also idolatry is condemned, and the idols are rejected as pathetic, incapable of even creating a fly. In conclusion, the believers are told that they can achieve success through prayer and good deeds. So that's part of the theme. The believers can achieve success through prayer and good deeds. So from that, we need to know what's success in Islam, not success in society. Because when you start to read about deeds and hadiths about how to be elevated in the ranks amongst Allah, sometimes being elevated in the ranks to where you in Allah's favor, it doesn't necessarily mean material. It may mean that you know how to practice and implement this deen where you can go to Jannah. You see what I'm saying? Where you can walk around in your everyday life and you don't have to ask everybody questions, and everything that you do in your life on a day-to-day basis is in accordance with the Quran and Sunnah. Some of us don't even consider that. 80 to 90% of what I do in my day is, like, not saying me, but like if we consider what's the percentage of what I do on an everyday basis is in accordance with the Quran and Sunnah. And then how much is in accordance with the lifestyle that Shaitan loves. What we waste our time on with these cell phones, but not to get into that. So we need to see what's Islamic success, and it could be achieved through patience and prayer. So it says, and this theme extends in the beginning of the next chapter. So now when you see these themes, you will start to see how the surahs is connected. So it carries on into the beginning of the next chapter. So let's start off this Quran ayat. Real deep. To me it is. Especially around number 3 and 4. Right? So the theme of this ayat is the horror of Judgment Day. So, alhamdulillah, O humanity, fear your Lord, for the violent quaking of the hour, the violent earthquake that's going to shake the whole earth, right? It is surely a dreadful thing, this earthquake, the shaking of the whole earth. The day you see it, every nursing mother, which means, breastfeeding mother and things like that, right? They don't really, whatever, you even if you got your baby on a bottle that's not breast milk, right? So the day you see it, every nursing mother will abandon their baby. Brand new baby that they still nursing. They will abandon their babies. And every pregnant woman, no matter what state she's in, her baby's going to come out. Right? Her baby is going to come out. This is the type of fear that they're going to have. The baby is going to come out prematurely. A week pregnant, 2 months pregnant, 5 months pregnant, 8 months pregnant, no matter what it is, the baby is going to fall out of their womb when that earth start to shake like that, right? And you will see people as if they were drunk, though they will not be drunk. But the torment of Allah is terribly severe. Now, I look at the condition of people, and it's almost like even just going to a restaurant sometime. And when you listen to people talk, like right now, my thing, and I'm gonna get away from it soon. I like to see when stuff be on social media, and I like to look at the comments. And when you look at the comments, man, you can see how disconnected people are starting to come. How they starting to become so disconnected from logic. You see what I'm saying? Like, common sense not common no more. But when I be looking at it, people almost starting to sound like drunk people. You see what I'm saying? Even when you starting to go to like restaurants, like it's almost like people just can't get orders right. And even if it's not even that pack, don't know how to put chicken in a box. It's almost like the people drunk, but they're not drunk. So you can see these. You can start to see small signs of this coming. But look at this. So that's ayat number 1 through 1 and 2. The theme is the horror of the day of judgment. So coming into ayat number 3, denying Allah's might. Still, even at that point, still like knowing about the day of judgment, like knowing the horrors of it. This even us Muslims, right? Still, there are some who dispute about Allah without knowledge and follow every rebellious devil. So what we do, we take notes, right? Dispute about Allah without knowledge. This could be Muslims, right? We're going to put speaking about Allah without knowledge. And follow, let me put that there, following every rebellious devil. Right? It has been decreed for such devils that whoever takes them as a guide will be misguided and led by them into the torment of the blaze. So when it says it has been decreed, what that means? It's the qadr of Allah. Allah done stamped it. If you follow them, it's written for you to touch that fire. Right? It's the qadr. It's going to become your qadr. If you make that choice and choose to follow these rebellious devils, it has been decreed. It's the qadr of Allah that for such devils that whoever takes them as a guide will be misguided and led by them into the torment of the fire. A blazing fire. So boom. What we need to see from this is what? These are warnings. First, we warned about the days of the hour of the day of judgment. So the warning starts off with that and how horrible it's going to be. It's going to be so scary and terrifying that the baby is going to come out of the womb of the mothers instantly. And they're going to run off and leave the baby where it dropped. A woman breastfeeding, giving her baby a bottle, or just chilling with her baby, but that's that young. When that earth start to shaking, they're going to run off and just leave their baby. Breastfeed and drop the baby and just... But where are they going to run to? This is giving you an extreme, clear visual of how scary this day is going to be. You see what I'm saying? Not losing a baby and it's dying just in your stomach and it be stillborn. The baby is going to fall out of their womb. Right? People going to be drunk. It's going to be like the people going to be drunk, but they're not going to be drunk. So, even with knowing that, you have people who dispute about Allah without knowledge. That's the key thing. They dispute about Allah without knowledge. They don't know what they're talking about. And right now, you have Muslims who want to dispute over where Allah is, what Allah can't do, when they don't even have the knowledge to do so. What type of books you can read, what you shouldn't read, when they never even read it for themselves. They don't even know what's in it. This person who's good, this person, this and that, because Allah said and the scholars, and they don't have the knowledge for what they're talking about. With knowing that this day is going to come and going to be so terrible, you still have people who dispute about Allah and His deen without knowledge. Allah telling us this, because the message is for us, but this was happening during the time of Rasulullah. If they was doing it then on that level, you know what's going on now, because the world is worse now than it was then. And not only do they talk about Allah and His deen without knowledge, they follow every rebellious devil. What does that look like? Now we need what is this shaitan and shayatins that Allah is speaking about? And why will we follow them? But not saying we will, it's already happening. And if you fall into following them, it is decreed, it's from the qadr of Allah, that whoever takes them as a guide, that you're going to become misguided and led by them into the torment of the blaze. This is going to be Muslims. Got to know your deen. So look, let's just take a look at the tafsirs. So now, what is these rebellious devils? What is this going to look like? You see what I'm saying? This is the sad part. These is falling into people you following that you think knowledgeable, let alone the Muslims that follow other Muslims and continue the street life and everything that comes with it. The Muslim sisters that's still out there involved in all this stuff that goes against the deen of Islam, from people that don't have knowledge. So when you pull up the tafsirs, and I'm going to use tafsir Ibn Kathir, right? Because I like the detail that it gives, right? I ain't going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to read just a little bit of it. So it says, when you see mankind drunken state, this means because of the severity of their situation, when they would just basically lose their minds. You see this today in society. People literally have lost their minds, their aql, their intelligence is being lost, right? So that whoever sees them will think that they drunk. We could already start to see this in society. You could see it on social media. Of course, some people on social media, they really might be drunk, because drunk comes with all type of intoxications, right? So intoxicants, we're going to keep it in the Arabic terminology. They're going to be intoxicated, because for us, drunk just means from drinking. Because we leave out, because due to the English language, we leave out the pill popping, the mushroom taking, the marijuana smoking, right? All of these affect the mind and the aql. So people are going to be intoxicated, but it's really going to be because they done lost their mind. Like, you can see a person who need psychotic meds. You can see them, you can see one of them on a corner at a bus stop. They ain't drunk, they ain't smoked, they ain't did nothing, but they ain't took their medicine. But the way they behaving on that corner, you could see somebody at a party who done drunk too much alcohol, or who done smoked too much, and their behaviors will be similar. They might be cussing out the air atmosphere. They might be fighting somebody that's not there. They may be cussing out and trying to fight their best friend because of something that's going on in their head. So I'm pointing that out so you can see the parallels. You see what I'm saying? Of what it's going to look like. People is getting like that already. So where it says, and among mankind is he who disputes about Allah without knowledge and follows every rebellious shaitan, right? Right here, look at the tafsirs. Allah condemned those who deny the resurrection and who deny that Allah is able to restore life to the dead. Those who turn away from that which Allah has revealed to his prophet, this including wahi that's in hadiths. For those who reject hadiths, saying we only need the Quran. Or they might not necessarily reject hadiths, but they feel like hadiths don't need to be studied. We don't need to read hadiths. We're going to deal with this. We're going to deal with that. So then they act in accordance with issues in the deen, but it's not based off of authentic hadiths. You see what I'm saying? This is a similar level to that, right? So what was revealed to the prophet, and in their views, denial and disbelief, they are the ones who follow every rebellious shaitan amongst men and jinn. This is the state of the followers of innovation, okay, misguidance, deviance, who turn away from the truth and they follow falsehood, following the words of the leaders of misguidance who call people to follow innovations and their own desires and opinions. To follow their own desires and opinions. Subhanallah Adhim. Allah says concerning them and their like, now it comes with a Quran ayat as dalil for these people. And amongst mankind is he who disputes about Allah without knowledge, meaning without sound knowledge. So they may know a little something, but they not really as sound as they come off. Some of these views and these opinions where you have individuals who turn you away from what you should be doing, and then put you up on something that puts you beneath them, where you will never become greater than them as long as you standing under their foot. Yeah. So this is letting you know these is what these rebellious shaitans and devils, what they're going to appear like before us. But if you don't have sound knowledge yourself, you might not know that you on some bid'ah. You might not know that you're being misguided. And because you won't go obtain knowledge for yourself, you're going to just follow them. And Allah is making it clear in the Quran that it is the qadr, it has been decreed for whoever follows them. Whoever follows their guidance, is written, Allah gonna write for you that you gonna be misguided and you gonna touch that fire. That's why I be trying to get people to understand, some people have the right words, they have the right speech, but the direction you going in is misguidance. It's misguidance. You see what I'm saying? All you got to do, so this when you look at the Quran ayats, especially a thematic one that's pointing out these qualities, Then when you know how to study your Quran as opposed to just read it, and then go look at a tafsir too and be like, whoa. Then you can start to see this also referring to Muslims. But look what else it say, right? And following every rebellious shaitan from Allah, it is decreed. Mujahid said this refers to that shaitan, meaning that it is a matter written in decree, and that whosoever follows him and imitates him, he will mislead that person, and he will drive them into the torment of the hellfire. That ain't nothing to play with. And it said that verse means he will mislead him in this world and in the hereafter. He will drive him to the torment of the fire, which is unbearably hot, painful, and agonizing. As-Sudi reported that Abu Malik said this ayat was revealed about An-Nadr bin al-Harith. This was also the view of Ibn Jurayj. Then it comes into ayat number 5, where Allah starts talking about the creation, how we formed in the wombs, and we came from nutfah, and all these other things, right? Like have anybody? I ain't gonna talk about that, but no, I ain't gonna talk about that. I ain't gonna discuss that. But when you sit back and ponder and reflect on that, and you take those notes, speaking about Allah without knowledge, you don't even know the names and the attributes. You don't study them. You're not in your Quran enough. And then some of us we own a lot of things, and we have some beliefs, man, that we shouldn't. Ended up following these rebellious devils. We need to take a deep look and ponder on what this looks like, and how can we avoid falling into that. You understand? And then keep in mind, once you fall into that, it's written, it's stamped, it's going to be from the qadr of Allah that you end up misguided, and you're going to touch that fire. You understand? You're going to touch that fire. Surah 22, ayat number 1 through 4. The theme of them, the horror of the day of judgment, and denying Allah's might. We need to be fearful of this, man. We need to have taqwa of these things. You know what I'm saying? What are we going to be asked about? What exactly is required of us for real? This what we doing? This what I've been told? This what everybody else is doing? Fact check it. Do a fact check. Is this from Quran and Sunnah? Is this how these Quran ayats should be understood? Some people reject tafsirs. It be plenty of people. Some people might hit the thumb down video on this just because I said something about tafsirs. Like if I put in the title tafsirs of these ayats, people gonna automatically have an issue with it before they even listen to it. Because tafsirs ain't real, or if I say hadith this other day and this and that, people gonna come in. We not gonna be judged by hadiths or hit me up on Instagram. Quit talking about those false hadiths. Tafsirs ain't real either. That's just some stuff Wahhabis made up and all this weird stuff, man. When that is not what it is at all. At all. You know what I'm saying? Like, and man, we need to get into it. I'm gonna take just a few minutes because I'm finna end it right now. But I want to, but I want to take a few minutes to discuss one issue that may be irrelevant to people that I was stuck on for like 2 hours, probably 2.5 hours. Now look at this. I'm gonna take y'all to 6, but this just to show you how doing research and how studying and then understanding some of these things, although it's something that the chances of me or a lot of people even falling into it is irrelevant. So surah number 6, ayat number 145. Look at this issue. And I'm going to be brief, inshallah, right? Say, O Prophet, the theme of this is meat forbidden to Muslims. Ayat number 145. Say, O Prophet, I do not find this, telling the Rasul to say this to the people. So when it say, O Prophet, it's letting you know, what for the English readers, Allah is telling the Rasul, this is what I want you to go and tell the Ummah. I do not find in what has been revealed to me anything forbidden to eat except for carrion, running blood, swine, which is impure, or a sinful offering in the name of anything other than Allah. So basically like somebody might sacrifice a cow for Buddha or something. It ain't permissible to eat that. Not that they didn't say Bismillah, but they intentionally sacrificed it for Shaitan or for some type of deity. Right? So that's why it's referred to as an offering. Right? But if someone is compelled by necessity, neither driven by desire nor exceeding immediate need, then surely your Lord is all forgiving, most merciful. So if you in a concentration camp or something go on, you don't want no pork, but it's the only thing that they're going to feed you, in order to nourish your body and stay alive, you could go ahead and eat that pork. You know what I'm saying? You could go ahead and eat that even if somebody slaughtered something in the name of Jesus, right? You could go ahead and, due to necessity, you don't really want it, but you need to eat, but you don't exceed the limit and just eat past what you need to nourish yourself, right? But you say Bismillah, of course. So that's what it's saying. Allah will forgive you for that if you end up in those circumstances. Now, how did this get me stuck? So in my head, I'm looking at it like, okay, it's saying nothing is forbidden, this and that. But by me being aware of hadiths, where on the day of Khaybar, the Rasul forbid the Muslims from eating donkey meat. Right? So you and I've seen a lot of different rulings and different things. So now in my head, I said, hold on. Donkey meat and things like that ain't in here. So I said, let me go to the tafsirs. And lo and behold, when I bust the tafsirs open, it's bringing up the subject about the donkey meat. And then it says that Ibn Abbas said the donkey meat wasn't forbidden forever due to this Quran ayat. So I said, whoa. Because I had never read the tafsir, so I hadn't seen that. So I'm like, okay, why Ibn Abbas? He got his dalil. This show how they use the dalil. He said that the Rasul didn't abandon it forever because of this Quran ayat. Allah didn't make it haram to eat. So now I got to go to the hadiths. So I'm going to Bukhari, I'm going to Muslim, and I'm reading all these hadiths on the day of Khaybar, and it's showing how the companions all differed about it. They were saying, some were saying that the Rasul, but a lot of them was under the impression that it wasn't 100% haram forever. They were saying that the donkeys that they ate, because they had conquered this area, so it was war booty, and the war booty hadn't been divvied up. And they was just hungry, so they slaughtered a donkey and started cooking it. So the Rasul came and told them, Y'all throw that donkey meat out and break those pots. So some of them said he told us to do that because we was basically eating from the war booty. And it hadn't been divvied out, so it wasn't permissible for us to do that. So some felt like that's why he said it. Then some said, well, he was referring to domesticated donkeys. And because domesticated donkeys, because they tied up in this and that, sometimes they'll eat their own feces or they'll eat any filth. They not in the wild where they could just go and eat what donkeys eat in the wild. So, and then Ibn Abbas was saying that it had something to do, it was a combination of those things. War booty, basically this and that. And this Quran ayat, due to this Quran ayat, it doesn't do away with it. I'm on this for like 2 hours because I want to go and look through myself and look at everything else that I could find before I go and see what the scholars say about it. So I seen that the biggest conflict was between, was it a domesticated donkey or wild donkeys? So now what I had to do, alhamdulillah, let me show y'all what I had to go look at. And I'm just breaking down how I go look through the most trivialist things to learn how to look at the Dalil, see what the Salaf al-Salih had, and what's the chances of me actually even ever eating donkey. Or a lot of us Muslims in America. Because like donkey wasn't a staple in their diet. They was traveling, they was at war, so they don't want to keep killing their camels and things that they use to carry their stuff. So they slaughtered some horses and they slaughtered some donkeys to eat. You see what I'm saying? But it wasn't like donkey was like a common thing that they ate. Some people, some Muslims in America might not ever see a real donkey face to face in their whole entire life. I ain't finna eat no donkey, but I want to know what's to it. And it sends me on research. So I had to go to the encyclopedia about the Rasul and go all the way to find the day of Kibar in the encyclopedia to see what was the specific. And alhamdulillah, when I go and dig into it, it was referring to a donkey that was domesticated. That they shouldn't eat the domesticated donkeys. And it was part of the war booty. Now once I go and look at that, then I'm going to go see what the scholars say. What did the scholars have to say? It's a difference of opinion. Why do the scholars have a difference of opinion? Because the Sahaba had a difference of opinion. Because the Rasul never really actually specified. So some just say, hey, it don't matter to me whether it's domesticated or wild. Rasul said don't eat it, throw it away, so I ain't never eaten donkey ever again. Some say, who was there, well, he did it because of these reasons. He did it because of that reason. So if circumstances come about. But Ibn Abbas, out of all them statements that I seen, because some of the people was confused about it, so they was coming to Ibn Abbas. And Ibn Abbas was saying he hit him with this dalil from the Quran ayats. Allah didn't never make that prohibited. So therefore, whatever Allah makes lawful is lawful, and then whatever Allah makes haram is haram. I was like, man, subhanallah. But I spent about wallahi, this was just Friday night when I got off work from about 1 to almost 3 a.m. Maybe like, it probably was more than 2.5 to around like 3:30. I was dealing with this issue, reading hadith upon hadith, and I'm going to the books. So I'm reading hadith upon hadith from all this one and this and that, looking at it in every section in the Sa'id, in Ibn Majah, and then I started to see, and then looking at the Arabic, I started to see the main dispute was whether it was domesticated donkeys or wild donkeys. So alhamdulillah, man, I ended up having to dig into the biography the encyclopedia and going to the very day when it happened. Like subhanAllah, everybody not gonna do that though. And then some people just gonna be like, whatever somebody told me is what I'm gonna go. But what if they told you wrong? Like, even with that ayat though, wallahi, even with this ayat where it says eat except carrion. When you look at the Arabic word, it's like maftun, something like that. But anyway, it's referring to carcass of skin. I heard a person who get a cook bars here. Some people asked him what was that, and he told them that it was a small bird that you have in your and that they have in a country that's overseas, but you don't see in America. So I ended up looking it up and seeing that they do use that term for certain birds like vultures because they eat dead carcasses. So it's basically saying don't eat dead carcasses of particular animals. But they told them that it meant a particular bird. That's misguidance, because a person could have fell into eating something that they shouldn't have been eating, that the Quran tell them not to eat, but because they was told that it meant a small bird, they didn't know. But this is a person speaking without knowledge, and he gives the kutbars. Yeah. Wallahi, even with the same thing, so like we're talking about pork, swine, and the flesh, wallahi, I knew some Muslims that kept eating bacon. Yes. Eating bacon and other pork products because they use this Quran ayat to justify eating pork bacon. Sausage, pork sausage. Talking about that's not the flesh of swine. The flesh of swine is ham and pork chops. You just can't eat ham, pork chops, pig feet, pig ears, pig tails, pig noses. But bacon and sausage or stuff like pepperonis, you can still eat. Yeah, Muslims and other pork products like marshmallows and different things like that. Using this Quran ayat as dalil. I'm talking about Muslims in my presence that I talk to. Yeah. And then when I told them that ain't correct and gave them the dalil, this, that, and the third, they just snuck and ate bacon. But, everybody struggle with some. Some people struggle with intoxicants. Some people struggle with boyfriend and girlfriends. Some people struggle with pork. You know what I'm saying? But the using the Quran to mislead people, man. To me, that falls up under your rebellious shaitan. You just don't want to give it up. So now you're going to come up with something from the Quran to justify it. And then with the carry-on thing, that's just somebody speaking about Allah's deen without knowledge. You could see both of them in this category. I could, when it came to talking to people. But anyway, man, that's just another little way to help people learn to study their Quran and really dig into it and bring it off the page and examine it so you can implement it into your life. And I didn't use no Arabic. Because like I said, everybody not going to reach the level of understanding this deen in Arabic. It's just not going to happen. Especially now that Americans is coming back teaching the sciences, or they're teaching it online in English so that people can get it, and it's pretty good. So unfortunately, you have people who not even going to try. I know people who've been Muslim 30 years plus, and they don't even care to even want to learn the Arabic alphabet. They're not even going to attempt to try to learn the Arabic. You know what I'm saying? So you just have some Muslims out there. They're not even going to put forth any effort to even try to learn any Arabic. So, I'm going to wrap it up on that. Some advice, because now that I'm doing it, alhamdulillah, and Allah guided me to this. So, everybody know, from last Ramadan, the end of Ramadan, to a month before Ramadan started, every night I was doing tahajjud prayer, reading directly from my mushaf. So I said this month I'm training, because now from the end of Ramadan to the beginning of next Ramadan, I'm going to use that time at night to work on my memorization of the Quran. So I've been practicing all this month, but what I'm doing is in tahajjud prayer, since you can't read from your mushaf, for every rakat, I'll just read the surah that I'm working on. And after like a couple of days, I have it. But some of the surahs that I even had, and I'm going back over them, now while me looking at the book, now I'm not listening to nobody in my headphones or listening to a teacher, this and that. I'm sitting down, going through it, reading it through there, and I'm reading it like 10 times in a row, slow, while I'm doing it in the tahajjud prayer. My pronunciation is getting crispier. So, like right after Ramadan, depending on how much I have, then I'll go sit with a teacher and have them listen to me for like a whole month. You know what I'm saying? Whatever I get memorized, have them listen to me like for a whole month. So reading it slow, and then I keep reading it. Then when I got it, then when I get to the point where I can recite it kind of fast, then I'll move on to the next surah. So then throughout the days when I pray, whatever ones that I worked on, like if it's a long surah, depending on the length, I'll probably either do 5 ayats at a time or 10 ayats. And then throughout the day, when I pray, I use them, and then at the same time, then I take my time out to listen to them. And man, my pronunciation is getting so crispy from doing it this way, to the point where tonight, wallahi, after tonight, I said, man, you know what? I might do this. I don't want to say the rest of my life, because I'm hoping that I get it completely memorized well, I don't have to use the book. But I'm going to use this method for a very long time, because it's working for me, because I'm doing it in the prayer, in tahajjud. So I'm reciting it during every, because you know when you're doing night prayers, you recite from the Quran in every single rakat. It ain't like your regular prayers and your sunnahs where you just reciting from the Quran in the first 2 rakats. So if you're doing 8, if you're doing, and then capping off with 9 or 3 for witr, and then when I do my 2 sunnahs before Fajr, whatever I'm working on, I recite them in my 2 sunnahs also, without the book, just to see if, you know what I'm saying, where I got to collect. It's some serious growth, man. So anybody who, you know, if you ain't doing that tonight, if you just reading from your Quran like that, then go listen, as opposed to listen and then look at your Quran. Because like I said in my video, what I noticed, the ones who do it that way, when you put the Quran in front of them and tell them to read it, they can't do it the same way. I was like that. I was like that. Now that's starting to come out of me. So anyway, man, assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.